Welcome everybody to our session today, and I've got a very quick or short hip mobility class planned for you. So the session we're going to do today, you don't need any equipment or anything. I have got a little cushion here and a block, but you don't need to have one. It depends on your neck alignment. So if you find you're in a bit of a shape like that, you might find just a small little cushion under the head will just help your neck alignment when you're lying on your back. But apart from that, you don't need anything. So shall we get started? So for the first one, I'm not going to use that. I'll just put it there because I can. We'll come on to the back. And I just want you to take a moment to make sure you're on camera. There we go. So I just want you to take a moment to just notice what's going in your body. So we're often rushing around. You know, we wake up in the morning, we're rushing there. And by the time we come home, we're rushing to get dinner on the table. So we are just going to take a moment and stop. So in this position, I want you to have your knees bent and your feet hip width apart. And then just settle there. Okay. And you can do this with your eyes closed if you want to, or you can look at the ceiling above you. It doesn't really matter. So I want you to bring awareness to your spine. So I want you to really think of your spine as you're lying down here on the floor. And so notice for your neck, does it feel like your chin is higher than your forehead? So maybe just drop that chin a little bit towards the throat. So you might feel a bit of a pull or a stretch in the back of the neck. And then maybe you feel both the shoulder blades on the floor. And hopefully in between the shoulder blades is your spine. And then what I want you to notice is the lower part of your back. So, and I'm not thinking about flesh. I want you to, if you can, focus on the actual vertebra, the bones of your spine. And naturally, we have this little curve in the lower back. Okay, so everybody should have that. Some people have a flat back, so they might not have that, or they might have rods in their spine. But generally, most of the population will have this very slight curve. Now, some people will have a bigger curve just because they sit a lot, or maybe they're pregnant or really overweight. So when you have that natural curve, hopefully the pelvis will naturally come into what's called a neutral pelvis. So it's when your two hip bones and your pubic bone, they make a straight line. So you could rest a cup of tea there. But you might find, so when I first started Pilates, I was what's called a posteriorly tilted. So my pelvis would roll towards me. Okay. So then I had to start like training myself to bring my pelvis into neutral. It used to feel really weird. So if it does feel weird for you, don't worry. It's just the proprioceptors, okay? And then your kneecaps will be in line with your hip bones. So women are really guilty of this, is the knees go really wide because they think of the outside of the hip. And I want you to think of the hip bones on the front of the pelvis, and your knees will be in line with that. And then your feet can be anywhere over there, okay? So I like to have my hands on my body. I like to touch my body. It's your body. You can do what you want to it. So the reason I like to touch my body is it gives me feedback as to what's going on in my body. Okay, so sometimes I hear teachers, oh, you should have your arms down to the side of you. Well, actually, I'm trying to feel if my hips are moving at the same speed or lifting at the same level or anything. So I highly encourage you to use your hands, and I do encourage my clients to use their hands and feel what's going on as well. Okay, let's get started. So in this position, take a breath in, and it doesn't matter how you breathe in, just breathe. And then as you exhale, what will naturally happen is the tummy will draw in towards the spine. You don't even need to think of that. It should naturally happen. Then I want you to draw your spine down towards the floor, towards your mat, and hug these abdominals inwards. And then you'll find you're coming into what's called a flat back. So often I will work in a flat back because it gives you this sensation of the back is in the floor. But we're just going to focus on a pelvic tilt today. Now, what happens now when you come to this position? Have the bum cheeks engaged and the back of the legs, have they engaged? And hopefully not. And then, as you exhale, breathe in again. It doesn't really matter about the breath. Let's not get fixated on breathing. You've been doing it all your life. I don't need to tell you how to breathe. So inhale. And then as you breathe out, hug the abdominals in. And let your tummy send your spine down towards the floor. And then this time, I really want you to try and draw your hips towards your rib cage as though you're intentionally imprinting your lower back into the mat. Okay? And then hold that position. So your coccyx might come off, but again, check to make sure that your bums and the back of your legs are soft. What often happens, I'm going to exaggerate it, and it's quite hard to do it wrong. People push and then they start, and this is all bum work and hamstring, and you can see this is all relaxed. Okay, so it's not the abdominals and the core that's doing the work. So what we really want to make sure is that the effort is coming from this area. So breathing in. As you exhale, send your lower back into the floor, hug the tummy in, and then use these abdominals to draw your pubic bone and your sternum closer together. This is known as rib cage closure. Have the shoulders tensed up, perhaps. Can you relax them? So now when my hands are on my hips, I'm trying to notice if they're the same level or maybe one's a little bit higher. Okay, so this is going to start telling you there might be a little bit of a twist in the pelvis. And then as you breathe out again, you can release. So let's do a few more. This is just a nice way to introduce a little bit of movement into that lower back. So breathing in. And then as you exhale, send your lower back into the mat and draw your hip bones towards your rib cage. So just in engaging these abdominals. And then release. And we're just going to do one more. So breath in. And then exhale. So as you draw the tummy in towards the floor, and I can feel my shoulders. I'm not perfect. My shoulders climb as well. Just be very aware of it. That's the most important thing. And then as you release back to the start, lovely. And I like to just do these pelvic tilts just to bring your mind onto your mat. But we are going to come onto the side now. And it's entirely up to you. You can do this next movement on your elbow. You can come into this position, which I really don't like. Or you can be in that position or something like that, okay? So for today, I'm actually going to come up on my elbow. And the reason I quite like this one is because we're stretching this off and we're engaging this, but actually the work that we're focusing is going to be the hip. So this is just a bonus workout for this part of the body. But if you have got shoulder issues or elbow or anything like that, by all means, you come down onto there and you can stay there. And if you can't put your arm there, this is where another cushion or block does come in handy. You can just pop your head over there and just have the arm out over there. Okay? Like so. And it's also easier for me to talk when I'm up here. So with this, often people go, oh, my shoulder's hurting. And it's because they're sagging in the shoulder. And of course, your joint's going to hurt when you sit in it. So what you really want to do is push the floor away so that we're activating these muscles. And your top hand can go here, or guess what? I like to have the top hand on the hip so that it gives me that feedback. So with this position, what you're trying to do is have your top hip directly above the bottom hip. And the feet are in line with the bum. Okay, so they don't want to be out over there, and the knees don't want to be in line with the body. The knees are forward and the feet are under the bum. So pushing the floor away. Now, just gently squeeze your feet together. You might feel your thighs kicking in. You might feel a little bit of the bum cheeks kicking in, and I'm already getting a cramp in my foot. Completely normal to get cramps in Pilates. And then from here, start to take the top knee up towards the ceiling. Now, what you are trying to avoid, and I'm going to exaggerate this, is when this knee goes up, the pelvis is just rolling, okay? It could be lack of awareness, or it could be really stiff in the hip or weakness somewhere. So what you want to try and do, so when your hand is on the hip bone doesn't want to move. So like I get to the point now, if I move that leg any further, the hip's going to move. But we don't want to work within the comfort zone. So now we're going to hold it there, breathe in, squeeze your bum to try and stabilize the hip, and then can you go a little further? Even if that hip does move, the brain is still activating all those muscles that help to not move the pelvis. They just might not be strong enough at this stage. And then bring the leg down again. So gentle squeeze of the feet activates inner thighs, taking that knee up, find the point where you're just about to move backwards, hold it there, take another inhale. And then squeeze your bum and your top thigh, and can you take it a little further? And then bring it back. And then we're just going to carry on. Find that point. So if you're doing this, I guarantee you're not working hard enough. Like I've done 2 and I can feel that already. Like Joseph Pilates never used to do many reps in his classical repertoire, because if you were using all the muscles as much as you should be, you would be burning and exhausted. So he only used to do like between 3 and 6 of everything. Squeeze. And we'll just do one more. And as you may know from my previous videos, I can't count. And then release. Oh, give that a little rub. So now we're going to come over to the other side. So with this one, you will probably notice some kind of difference between the 2 sides. Okay, so one might feel really strong, and stable, and another side you might be wobbling all over the place. That's completely normal. So top hand over there, pushing the floor away, gently squeeze the feet together, make sure that top hip is above that bottom hip so we're not rolling forward or rolling back. Top leg comes up. And then once it comes up, give it a little squeeze. Can you go a little bit further? So for me, the range of motion on this side is bigger, but I actually find it harder because I think the muscles are weaker on this side. Take it up. Oh. So what we want in our body is strong but flexible muscles. So sometimes you might have a muscle that's tight, but it's weak, or you can have a muscle that's tight but strong. We want all muscles tight but weak, strong but flexible. Good. So we're just going to do one more. So push. Find the point where the pelvis wants to roll. Stop it there. Can you go a bit further? You might see my knee shaking already. And then come back down and then release. So now what I want you to do is I want you to go to your side that was harder for you. So I'm going to stay on this side because this is the one that needs a little bit more work. And we're going to do another 6 on your harder side. Okay, so you might need to switch. Whatever side you don't want to do again is probably the side that you need a little bit more on. So we never really want to do 6 of everything on each side because then we don't bring that balance back to the body. So, like I said, we're going to do 6 more. So whatever side you're on, gently squeeze the feet, making sure the top hip is above the bottom, taking the knee up, feel with this top hand, does the pelvis feel like it's rolling back, and then hold it there, breathe in. And then can you go a little further without the pelvis moving? So like I said, you might find the pelvis does move, but providing in your head you're trying not to move it, you are still innervating those muscles. Three, have been counting. Take it up a little further, squeeze. Like I said, you might notice my legs shaking. So all the muscles, my calves, thighs, bums, everything is like squeezing like crazy. And this is the last one. This is such a fantastic exercise and release. For hip even if you've had a hip replacement, fantastic, because it really strengthens the supporting muscles, the muscles that surround the joint. Sometimes it might flare a little bit of sciatica off, just depends what kind of sciatica you have. Or where it's impinging, but such a really fantastic exercise for hip mobility and strengthening. So that was a nice cheeky little bum exercise for you today, and I shall see you in another video soon, guys. Take care.